Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Ever since this conference changed from being the India Retail Forum, which got sold off, to the Physical Retail Conference, you would be hearing practically every session will have this crossover between e-commerce and physical and so on. A few years ago, I had written a piece called The Oneness of Retail. And to my mind, the separation between online and offline is pretty artificial for reasons, reasons are very obvious. When you're raising funding for a new kind of format, for a new kind of business model, you want to make sure that you get the message across that the rest of the business models are going to fall very quickly in front of this new behemoth, which the e-commerce business was supposed to be. But lo and behold, e-commerce, as it has grown, we found that e-commerce companies have opened physical retail stores, and as time has gone by, the physical retailers have become more savvy about how to do business online as well. So I think from the point of view of effectiveness with across channels, I think we have a good conversation today going. We've got Bhavana from Ikea and Kapil from Unicommerce. And I'd like to start with Kapil, actually, because you're coming at it from the pure e-commerce mindset, let's put it that way. So taking a very, very broad view of the market across different product categories and formats, how do you see the journey in terms of the adoption of e-commerce over the last, say, 5-7 years?
Sure. I think at Unicommerce, we have had the privilege of witnessing this journey for more than a decade now, and are processing almost like 20% of India's e-commerce volumes. Nearly 1 billion orders get processed through our platform. So we have a fair ringside view of what has happened in the ecosystem. We've seen the pre-pandemic era where I think e-commerce was largely meant as a platform to especially like fashion and electronics were the prominent categories which are driving e-commerce growth. So it was used as a platform to probably liquidate the old stock, discounted stock. So e-commerce was always viewed as a platform where you can get things cheaper and also like the old stock, which is probably not relevant for the offline mode. But I think just before pandemic, or particularly during the pandemic, the consumer habits started to change fundamentally, where e-commerce became an intrinsic part of retail, where we saw retail becoming fully omni-channel. The consumer was always omni-channel. Pre-pandemic, you would see a consumer looking at designs offline. They would always check the prices online and then decide where to buy, or vice versa. They would probably do some discovery online, but they would still touch and feel in the offline world. So the consumer was always omni-channel, but we saw brands becoming truly omni-channel during the pandemic mode. And we saw a lot of, so while pre-pandemic era was largely dominated by fashion and electronics, we saw many new categories emerge during the pandemic, like beauty and personal care, health and nutrition, FMCG, which these categories which were largely traditional pre-pandemic, started to embrace e-commerce in a big way, and it became an intrinsic part of their overall strategy. Then we saw, and this trend is now continuing. Now we see a lot of new categories emerging, like sports and fitness, pet care, and many other categories which largely were dependent on general trade and modern trade or unorganized retail. They are now starting to look at e-commerce as a very important channel. And now in the last 1 year, we've seen quick commerce pick up in a big way, right? So I think brands are realizing that the overall landscape is becoming very complex. Across categories, e-commerce has become a core part of their retail planning. And that's why they have to adopt an omni-channel approach and make sure that they have the right people, process, and technology to make sure that they are able to implement and offer a unified experience to the customers. And we are seeing this across industries, just that some industries are probably at different stages of evolution. Fashion is probably the most evolved, having embraced e-commerce almost a decade ago. And now we are seeing them at the front foot of adopting omni-channel, but we are slowly seeing that getting pervaded across multiple other categories as well.
Kapil, the term omni-channel has been used and abused very much over the last several years. You mentioned the fact about having a unified experience across channels. How do you see the convergence of an online presence for a brand with other channels? How do you see that happening?
I think this is an era where you have to offer a unified experience to the customer because there are so many options available, and if the customer experience is broken at any leg, I think it just spoils the experience, and there are plethora of choices available for a consumer today. So brand really has to up their game to offer a very unified experience, and this experience can be in terms of the catalog, pricing, and it's a very, very contentious topic for a brand that so far, for so many years, they've always had different pricing strategy, different catalog strategy across different channels. But if you keep such disjointed attributes or motions at different levels, then you are not truly omni-channel. So you have to offer a very unified experience where the customer can decide to buy anything at any point of sale, and they should get a similar experience. And omni-channel, I think for the longest time, pre-pandemic at least, meant just endless aisle, wherein a customer walking into an offline store, and if, let's say, they like something, and this was largely in fashion, if they like something, it wasn't available in their size, the store manager will ensure that they will order it from a nearby store or from a central warehouse. I think over time, and particularly post-pandemic, we have seen use cases evolve wherein a customer ordering online is able to get fulfilled from a nearby store. And in this era of quick commerce where deliveries are happening in 10 minutes, I think even in discretionary categories like fashion and footwear, we are seeing a lot of salience of same-day delivery orders, because otherwise the customer is just going away to another brand saying that probably I would just want this very quickly. And the bar is not only on the marketplaces, which is Amazon, Flipkart, even on the brand website, I think the customers today are demanding a very, very strong and a fast delivery as well. So besides ship from store, other use cases that we are seeing consumers demanding and brands finally implementing them is that a customer is buying online but wants to have the flexibility of returning offline or vice versa. And there are assisted buying happening at the store. There is also technology getting implemented at the store level where there is AI and VR assisted buying kiosks that are being set up through which they are able to do upsell to the customer. So we are seeing technology becoming a very, very intrinsic part of retail and the omnichannel landscape for a brand. And that's how brands essentially are like 5 years ago, omnichannel was just a buzzword, as you rightly said, Devangshu. But today it's a very intrinsic part because they are seeing that they are losing sales if they're not embracing some of these things. And because the customers are today demanding, because the customers are ready to move on to another brand if, let's say, these hygiene factors are not met by a particular brand. And I think that's the transformation that we've seen happen in the last couple of years.
Okay. Bhavana, coming to you, you work for one of the most recognized brands globally. And when one thinks about Ikea, one thinks about the big blue box with the yellow lettering across the box. The e-commerce journey of Ikea started relatively late compared to other large retailers, and the company's CEO himself has acknowledged kind of the slow entry and the slow growth. But it seems to have picked up post-pandemic. The growth has been very rapid. First of all, talk us a little bit through the overall business in India. What are the considerations in front of the Ikea team as the business is built in India, and how has this strategy evolved, and how the mix works between online and offline between the business?
Yeah. So, so I think, our global vision is to be able to, serve the home furnishing needs of the many in an affordable way, and India is a great market to do that. And we recognize it, and that's why India is a very focused market for expansion for Ikea. And the vision for India is to basically establish stores in the big cities and then leverage omni-channel capabilities in order to reach most of the country. So right now we are present in 3 cities in an omni-channel way, and then we serve 4 states through e-commerce. But then I think the way we have acknowledged and adjusted for the country is that we definitely know that Indian customers are very digitally savvy. And as Kapil said, the customer is omni-channel, omni-channel in terms of the way they do. So we have no option either. So for instance, the way we have adapted strategy for India is, we are looking at an omni-channel expansion plan for us. And India is one of the few markets to do that. Simple ways of doing that is we do not wait for a store to open. We opened e-commerce in Bombay before the store, in Bangalore before the store, and next year we'll do it in Delhi as well. So inherently, our overall expansion plan for India is focused on omni-channel.
So you're in a sense priming the market, preparing for the box
absolutely. So for us, when we open up e-commerce, it's not just a channel of sales. It is getting the customer familiar with the brand, with our range, with the way we operate as a DIY organization. It's a lot more. It's a great way of acquiring loyal customers as well for us.
Sure.
Yeah.
How challenging is it to present the giant blue box experience on a small screen?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Devangshu, that a trip to an Ikea store is not a shopping, it's an experience in itself, right? And we look at not selling products, but selling home furnishing solutions. And in a store, you'll actually see that in the form of elaborate room sets with customizable products. You can actually work with consultants to make that happen in the store. We offer services. How do we do that online in a small screen, right? Imagine trying to present a range of over 7,000 products from a bottle brush to a customizable wardrobe in the same platform. And then how do we bring these things to life? So we have been using a variety of digital solutions to make this happen. So we don't just list our products online. We actually have room sets on our pages. So a lot of our website actually looks like Pinterest, where you have inspirational feeds. So you can get the same idea of what your room would look like at home as like you would do in a store. We offer consulting services online. We offer design services online. And then keeping in mind that the customer is omnichannel, again to quote Kapil, the journey starts online many times but gets completed at the store. So all of our solutions are also in such a way that you can start designing your products at home and then take it to a store and continue the conversation exactly where you left off, right? That's one part. The other part is the not so glamorous part, which is essentially supply chain and operations. We don't have a single warehouse. Our e-commerce is completely fulfilled from stores. We're talking of furniture here, a significantly large number of orders. But we are able to do that because it really obviously improves our profitability because we don't have the warehouse costs, but also that it gives us a competitive advantage, right? So we are able to fulfill orders in our main markets in 2 days' time and intercity in 7 days' time. Whereas most of our competitors actually take anywhere between 7 days to 5 weeks to fulfill the orders. So the way we are looking at it is, omnichannel gives us a competitive advantage. It gives us additional profitability, and it's something that is a mindset with not just the e-commerce team or the tech team, but every function within the organization.
So you mentioned the bridges. For instance, when one is looking at product browsing or fulfillment from the store to fulfill the e-commerce orders, are there any breakpoints between the two that you find? Are there any challenges that you find between the two, between the physical and the digital?
There are always challenges, I think. For example, at this point of time, for example, in Bangalore, we only fulfill from the Bangalore store. But if there's a product which may be out of stock in Bangalore, the customer needs to wait till the product comes back. I think the bridge is now trying to figure out a profitable way to actually ship these products from any other store. It's far simpler to do with accessories, but with furniture, if you are trying to ship a sofa from Hyderabad to Bangalore, it doesn't work out in terms of cost. So that's definitely a focus area for us to address in the future. Yeah.
Sure, but as the network grows, obviously that will become a little easier.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that we need to do if we are looking at pan-India fulfillment at some point of time. We will have to figure this out for sure. Yeah.
Kapil, coming back to you, do you think some of the companies that you see in the market are handling this channel convergence better than others? And why do you think they're doing that?
By channel convergence, you mean?
Between physical and digital.
So I think it is dependent on the stage of evolution for a particular category or a brand. I think those who've started the journey much earlier, I think we've seen them handle this transition much better. As Bhavana mentioned, making sure that the journey could start anywhere, it could start offline but complete the transaction online or vice versa. I think we've seen fashion as a category being, and as Bhavana mentioned, it's probably even easier because it's not, unlike furniture, these are straight pieces that have to go. So we've seen multiple use cases of, let's say, a customer ordering 3 pieces and 2 pieces are getting fulfilled from one store, but the third piece is not available. It's getting fulfilled from another store or from a central warehouse. And today the footprint, and particularly as the demand from tier 2, tier 3 cities of the country is increasing, we are seeing many of these brands setting up these dark stores. They may leverage their already existing footprint of offline stores, or they may set up these dark stores which they are leveraging. So I think the flexibility in terms of fulfillment options are immense for a brand as well as a customer today. And because of that, I think some of these categories that adopted omnichannel much earlier, like fashion, electronics, footwear, etc., we are seeing them do a much better job of handling this transition. Or digital first brands which started as omnichannel first, like First Cry as an example, Sugar started as an example, started their omnichannel journey much earlier. So I think we are seeing some of these brands who've started this journey much earlier or categories are able to handle this transition a lot more. But the good part is for the brands who started this journey late, today there are a lot of plug-and-play solutions in terms of technology, talent, as well as process experts that are available. So the learning curve is not, they would not need as much time to learn all the mistakes that many of the brands who did this in the early phase. So I think now a brand today, when they decide to go omnichannel or decide and put weight behind this plan of getting omnichannel, I think they can become truly omnichannel in, let's say, a 6-month time frame as well, as opposed to earlier it used to take about 2 to 3 years where they could truly call themselves omnichannel. So I think that is a very good part, and that's why we are seeing this increasingly, the penetration of omnichannel mindset amongst brands. We are seeing this increasing across categories, whether it's beauty and personal care, pet care, sports and fitness, which embraced e-commerce very recently, are in fact starting as an omnichannel first approach itself. So we are now seeing this pervasive across different categories.
Okay. Bhavana, technology has been one of the kind of key highlights even at Ikea, even though it was late on the e-commerce journey. What has been, if you're looking at augmented reality, for instance, in visualizing furniture and so on, how does technology align with Ikea's business model in the Indian market specifically, and how do you see this personalization and the whole kind of aspect of taking the customer through a journey which is curated for them? How do you see that happening, taking place in India?
Yeah, I think, see, for a country like India, where we know we are going to have omni-channel presence and a large part, of the country may end up getting fulfilled through e-commerce, leveraging technological capabilities is, a no-brainer for us. It's something that we have to do. And, addressing to your previous question, how do we replicate that entire experience of customers seeing products in a store or understanding how the products would look in their home? How do we do that in an online way, right? So, for example, we are piloting something called Ikea Creative, which is an augmented reality and mixed reality solution where you can actually just scan the entire, your own room on your phone, erase all your existing furniture, put in Ikea furniture and see exactly how it looks. And then it is also connected to a recommendation engine, so you can actually set up your whole room in a certain way and not just buy a sofa. So that's one way of, for instance, looking at ensuring that we are able to try and replicate the IKEA experience into a small screen. Then we are adding additional elements onto it, which is currently being piloted only in one country, which is adding an entire generative AI-based chatbot to the entire solution. So the vision is to ensure that every customer gets a personalized assistant for design. So it can answer your questions about products. It can give you recommendations based on the design style you want to go ahead with. And it is designed to work with IKEA Creative as well. So that's another way of looking at it. And all of these things fit very well into our plan for India in order to ensure that we are able to give a true IKEA experience to the many people, even if they don't have a store close to them.
Could we dare to imagine or dream about a customization project at IKEA at all? Because IKEA is more about standardization, but can technology be used? Do you think it's kind of down the road somewhere?
Absolutely. I think, honestly, while we have standard solutions, for example, your wardrobes and your kitchens, for instance, can be completely customized to your home, right? And these solutions are actually already available. So you can actually, even on the website, try and customize your own wardrobe to fit, your rooms. You can customize the handles. You can customize, the kind of storage space you want based on your storage needs. Similarly, kitchens can be customized as well. So we are left at the moment using, our basic standard, I would say, parts to design customer kitchens, but fingers crossed in the future, who knows?
Great. I think we're almost at the end of the session. So quick closing comments, thoughts, one thought that you want to leave the crowd with today?
I think the one takeaway is that omnichannel is here to stay. The customers are already there. Brands don't have a choice. And again, I think the key takeaway for us is omnichannel is not the onus of the e-commerce team or the tech team. It is something that needs to be fulfilled by every single part of the store, whether it's your store operations, whether it's logistics, whether it is your design team as well. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Great. Kapil?
I think what we've seen so far is that Omnichannel started as a journey where we wanted to see, because it was working out in the external world, in the developed countries. We wanted to replicate that in the Indian context. But over time, what we've seen is there are very India-specific innovations that have happened in Omnichannel. I think it offers a lot of room for innovation, and we have seen very specific nuances of, for example, marketplaces offering Omnichannel today, which was unheard of in other countries. And there are many such innovations that have happened in the landscape. So I think it offers a breeding ground for a lot of innovation and taking the experience to the next level, especially in the era of the complex interplay of different ecosystem players that a brand today has to deal with. I think essentially ensuring that a brand to be able to offer a unified experience, it's very important that a brand implements the right technology to have a strong interplay within these ecosystem players and ensures that continues to offer a unified experience. And that's why the brand has to think 2 steps ahead now in terms of innovation, because ultimately it'll start impacting your own sales as well. So I think my only request to the ecosystem and the brands is to make sure that we have to embrace this as a reality and make sure that we're thinking 2 steps ahead. Otherwise, this will result in growth stagnation, because ultimately we are seeing e-commerce/quick commerce taking away a lot of share from the traditional models of retail that used to be predominant, let's say 5 years ago.
Great, some excellent thoughts, lots of good tips. For if you haven't started your journey crossing the aisle to the other sets of formats, this is the right time to do it. I hope you've got a good set of takeaways from this session. Thank you all. Thank you, Kapil. Thank you, Bhavana, for sharing your insights.